Do you know which Chief Justice this is? I'll bet that you don't. This is the
Rehnquist was
16th
born in
Supreme
Milwaukee,
Court
Wisconsin in
Chief Justice
1924.
Rehnquist.
His
who is
parents were
remembered
William
as one of the
Benjamin
most
Rehnquist, a
successful Chief
conservative
Justices of the
Republican that
Supreme
was a
Court.
sales manager for a printing, equipment, and paper sales office. His mother was Marjorie Peck Rehnquist, who was a director for a small insurance company and a local civic activist. Rehnquist's educational career began at Shorewood High School, and then he went to Kenyon College before attending Stanford and eventually Harvard University. After briefly attending Kenyon College for one semester, Rehnquist joined the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II, where he never saw any combat. Rehnquist then attended Stanford University, where he received a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Arts in Political Science. Rehnquist then attended Harvard University, where he received another Master of Arts in Government. Eventually, he returned to Stanford University and graduated from the Stanford Law School. During his time at Stanford Law School, he met Sandra Day O'Connor, who would later serve on the Supreme Court with him, and during their time at Stanford, they briefly dated. Rehnquist's professional career began as a law clerk for Robert Jackson, a moderate on the U.S. Supreme Court. Eventually, he moved to Phoenix, Arizona to begin a private practice. And from there, Richard Nixon won the presidency in 1968, and Rehnquist moved back to Washington, D.C. to serve as a deputy attorney general for the Justice Department. Nixon eventually nominated him as an associate justice of the Supreme Court. In 1986, when Chief Justice Warren Burger retired, Ronald Reagan named Rehnquist as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Rehnquist was involved in several landmark cases, including Texas versus Johnson, where he wrote a dissenting opinion on the court ruling allowing flag burning being protected by the First Amendment, and Kelo versus City of New London, where he wrote a dissenting opinion that allows local governments to force property owners to sell their properties to make way for private economic development that will increase property taxes. This was a violation of the Fifth Amendment protections of eminent domain. But his most controversial case was Roe versus Wade, where he wrote a dissenting opinion on the majority decision to make abortion legal. Interesting facts about Rehnquist are that during World War II, he was stationed in North Africa as a weather observer, and as a clerk, he encouraged Associate Justice Robert Jackson to support overturning Plessy versus Ferguson and supporting the concept of separate but equal. He was often referred to as the Lone Ranger because of his tendency to be on the opposite side of the majority in Supreme Court decisions. After 33 years' service in the Supreme Court, Rehnquist was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, but refused to retire and remained Chief Justice until his death in September 2005.
Powell versus Alabama. Who was involved? Ozzie Powell, Victoria Price, and Ruby Rates, and the state of Alabama. When did it happen? October 10, 1932. Where did it happen? Scottsboro, Alabama. Most importantly, of what happened. Ozzie Powell, along with 9 others, were accused of alleged rape. They were sentenced to death, but were not given reasonable time and opportunity in their defense. Why did this go to the Supreme Court? The trials violated the 14th Amendment. It was a 7-2 decision for Powell,